Okay, often as professional musicians, we like to fantasize or play games with each other, which guess what our alternative careers would be. It used to go no further than a kind of post-show pub chat until March 2020. And as an impact of the COVID pandemic, we lost all of our work overnight for the foreseeable future. For the first time in our careers, or even our lives, we had to seriously think about what we could do instead of music and what our skill set truly was. Who can forget that rather helpful campaign by the former government encouraging us to retrain from the arts by depicting a ballet dancer with a slogan underneath that said, "Fatima's next job could be in tech." Critics said that the campaign represented cultural Philistinism and bad governance in one advert. And others said it pretty much summed up what this government thinks of the arts. Thankfully, we're not here to discuss 2020, but it does help us shine a light and hold a mirror to how the government and society really does value the arts. Fatima, however as an unwelcome message it was, did briefly make me think about my potential transferable skills and what I'd really learned from my musical education and how I could utilize this if I was not to play the cello professionally anymore. This is a slightly skewed and roundabout way of thinking in terms of what my music education has given me other than my income as a cellist. Had I decided to stick on the other side of the stage as an audience member or an amateur, or neither, would my life have benefited? It's best to go back to the beginning. That moment humans have their early connection with music. Firstly in utero, and then in the formative years, which generally comes from parental exposure. We then arrive into the lottery of early years education, and beyond at school where more factors come to play. Postcodes, a passionate teacher maybe, financial resources or lack of them, musical families. There are so many more factors now that can develop or define the relationship with music, both positive, negative, or God forbid, a non-existent one. This is where I believe society has the duty to start stepping up, as it has with our considered core subjects, to nurture, develop, enthuse, and inspire these relationships' beginnings, has the potential to be life-changing. How we listen, play, sing, appreciate, and discuss music in these earliest interactions have the power to develop a lifelong relationship with music that does not have to end up being paid to play a note, as it did with me. To listen in a class to a piece of music uninterrupted develops listening skills, which transfers into boardrooms, concert halls, meetings, you name it. To write a song together or sing in a choir can be the most fantastic training for team development and building in business, which I've actually witnessed firsthand with musicians such as Rainer Hirsch and his orchestra, who regularly coach tech companies and draw parallels between how businesses and symphony orchestras work. In my work in music education, I see huge issues in both the state and private sectors, which I feel needs to be addressed to make sure that the musical culture of this country does not become a distant memory. Grassroots is where we should start, of course, but maybe not as you would expect. Maybe before we start demanding more free music in schools and instruments for every child, we should look for change in a different direction, as I believe that change also needs to come in how we support the teachers who teach music. Did you know that in a PCGE course, teachers throughout all their training, do you know how many hours they get trained for music? It's 3 hours. That's how much they get devoted when they teach their primary school music class music. This can make for an awful lot of nervous teachers who feel totally unsupported, especially when it's an alien subject to them. You can see where this may lead in front of a noisy class of 30. With my work in the Jess Gillum Ensemble, we've created free resources with Essex County Council and Saffron Hall to provide teachers with videos on how to train music to a specific age group. We piloted the scheme with great success this year, with a hall full of confident teachers and their classes who had benefited from teachers who knew what they were teaching and had easy-to-follow videos made by passionate musicians who want to pass on their skills and love of music. Interestingly, Jess, who's herself only 26, where normally soloists want to play big concertos in their 20s, she wants to use her celebrity to give back to the state music education, where she was lucky to have the right start from. It's worth mentioning where these discussions, where we'd normally be focusing on state system, now we've got a new threat, which is in the private system, where previously music was a safe subject in the school day. More recently, however, it's becoming an issue, and we need to think about this carefully too, as due to the VAT increases happening next year, music is also being marginalised. As a teacher in one of those schools, I've already had a healthy class slip away due to these extra costs, and I'm afraid the general parental attitude is that music is the first thing to be cut from their child's day to save money. We have to think about music and the arts from how every part of society has access to them now, from the most disadvantaged children, where music can empower and heal trauma, to the most privileged of children who may choose to give back to the arts through financial contributions as adults. Music should be for everyone, as it's our language that exists when words fail. And I believe it's our duty as society to make sure that every child is provided for with musical sparks, which gives them the opportunity to have a lifelong relationship with music wherever it may lead. Thank you.